Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me today for SMAC 11, and I'm introducing Dr. Cary Morin from ACCESS Physiotherapy in Ashford, Kent. Cary, please introduce yourself to the viewers. Thank you.
Hi, yes, my name is Cary. Nice to meet you all. This is Douglas. He just needed to say a quick hello.
That's amazing. We love dogs.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
And I must encourage anyone who is watching today, please to go back to SMAC 9 if you're interested in the topic, as well as my interview with Jackie Crammond, who is living with Parkinson's disease. And I think I can thank Cary for introducing in a long-winded way, because he recommended that Jackie actually take on yoga as part of her rehabilitation and healing from the illness. So I'd like to know, what is neuro physiotherapy? How long has it been around? Because I haven't really known about the correlation between the two since I met Jackie. So it'd be great to hear from you. Thank you.
Well, I got my education in America, and all physical therapists need to be educated within the neurological system, the full muscular skeleton, how it all works together. And along the way, we may decide to specialize in specific issues. Neurological issues would be of the field of physical therapy that you might specialize in. So we dissect humans in school. We learn about the brain and the central nervous system right down to a T. We know what nerve innervates what muscle at all times and how. Of course, we learn about the diseases along the line that affect that situation as well, where Parkinson's is one of those. And in graduate school, I did my thesis on because we used to get people who would come into our laboratory sessions where we were learning about things, who would be presenting with issues that we're studying at the time. And I met people with Parkinson's, and I felt that I wanted to really dive into that all about, and how can I help them. Neuro physiotherapy you'll normally find in a hospital situation, greatly needed with post-stroke experiences.
Yes.
And neurological effect.
Right.
This is a little different. What Jackie experiencing is something different. Parkinson's was discovered named over 200 years ago. It's around, but treatment for Parkinson's has really not been what it is becoming. Yes. In something like what I've done. And I've been blessed to meet Jackie, who has taken her challenge and she may not agree. She's made it look like it doesn't affect her.
Smooth sailing, yeah.
Right, and so she was told at first to do less. And when she came to me, I knew that that wasn't what she needed. She needs to train that nervous system of hers, and you try to get more out of it, and then she gets it. And then part of that is flexibility as well. And what you get from yoga, I've been doing yoga since my late 20s, 50s now, so I've got some experience with it, and I knew that she was capable of it and would really benefit.
Mm-hmm. What I want to ask you is, you're part of LSVT Global, and I see with Lee Silverman's voice training, it actually started with that, and then it became almost a twofold thing, where it would be either about communication, which is perhaps a mental process, and then about the body. So in the initial assessment, the clinical assessment of someone that's diagnosed with Parkinson's, how do you balance that between what is coming through on maybe a vocal speech level, and then what is physical? And I'm assuming Jackie is definitely more falling into the physical side of things.
Yes. Well, we use muscles to create and air to create sound, right? So this is still a muscular issue when it comes to the voice training that this approach off with. It started off with a family wanting to help their mother, who's one of the symptoms, which is a huge range of symptoms, would be the softening of the voice. Also, the neurological aspect within the brain would make that person unaware that they're really not speaking as loud and clear as they used to.
Okay.
So the vocalization, it's still a muscular training involved in improving the voice. And you're right, Jackie does not present with that symptom of a very soft voice. Although I'd had her before 2 years ago, I don't know what she sounded like, but I still see her often, and I'm not hearing, I'm not always going, what? Although she does have a very thick Scottish accent, and I may not understand her, but I can definitely.
So what I wanted to ask was, when it comes to what you've been doing with Jackie and how it's enabled her out of her comfort zone to do these walks up mountains, how intensive does that kind of training need to be? And when you suggested that to her, you know, to somebody who's lived a very sedentary life, even when I was working with Jackie, she missed being the old Jackie. She missed that person, but it really is giving us an opportunity to step out of our comfort zones and do so much more. We kind of got to see the value in it as well.
I don't believe as physically fit and athletically minded prior to her getting diagnosed with. She may have been active, but she was nowhere near the athlete that she has turned herself into today to turn this situation around. She puts me to my limits. I've had to modify the basic program of LSVT BIG for big movement.
Yes.
For her. I've had to change it. I had to come up with ideas of how can more challenging, all in a way that I never thought I would ever have
That's
to.
Amazing.
Right. And yes, she's challenged and she'll be bothered by the difficulty of it. But if I put a very first timer, right, someone 70s and 60s and 70s who are just getting into their first stage of Parkinson's, they would not be able to handle. Not at all. She's spectacular.
I think tenacity is the word that is coming through for me. So how much of that is still a lot to do with our own confidence and self-worth, and how we value you know, healing ourselves. Someone who is already depressed might go into this with such a negative mindset that it won't have half as much impact.
I have to take that in consider anybody that I work with. I'll get to know them very intimately through this experience. We spend an hour a day together for 4 weeks. And along that way, I usually see that initial good effort will start to drop because emotional strain behind this. They'll have good days, they'll have bad days. And I can be a musculoskeletal neurological clinician. I have to be a human being with them too.
Yes.
And if I see emotional challenges, I will actually just stop a session and ask to see what's going on. And oftentimes it takes a mental change, an idea of what life is even. Their beings they think is the end of all things. When I'm sitting there so excited, realizing, no, this is just a thing in life, and you still have life, and be happy about it and go for it. You can do it.
Yes.
They have the opportunity of learning the power that they have in life and that they may have always had but took it for granted. Now they have that opportunity to really learn more and more about how to make it their own.
So I had to go through some techniques with Jackie as well to help her connect with her own spirit on a much deeper level. How does meditation assist the brain to heal through processes like this? And is it something that can not necessarily be reversed? You know, you can tell me the extent of the permanent damage to somebody, but can we see Jackie's condition and people like her improve so that she can continue to live a full life?
Yeah. That's a very deep question that you just asked, especially for me, because although what I do is coming from science, I didn't personally come from science. And I personally have an outlook of there's the power that people have comes a lot from what their definitions of life is. Period. Where do they come from? What are they here for? Where are they going to? What is it all about? And on and on and on. And I choose to focus on what can't and what isn't, when I know that focusing on what you can be and what you are right now really is what can lift you up much more than saying, this will never change. This is going to get you.
To eliminate
What's
the unknown.
What's the point in focusing on that when you can't change it until you focus on what you do have and what you can do?
Yes.
And I watched light switches switch in her, these just mental switches in her go, oh, that is a waste of, what am I doing? And then she just changed her perspective on it and flew forward. It was amazing.
It's amazing to see those kinds of activations. Yeah, very noticeable. And I hope she doesn't mind us talking about her like this. There was a time when we were busy in the hotel room at the resort that I was visiting her at in Goa, in India. And I asked her to stand up straight against the wall. And for her to do that, it really felt like there was a big heart opening of the sternum. And she said that it was very difficult for her to do. Can you shed some light on that and on how almost it feels like the body is being burdened, and the exercises that we're doing are trying to open it up and trying to stretch and almost feel bigger than we really are to compensate for other things?
Well, with someone with Parkinson's, they're going to experience one of the main symptoms is rigidity. Literally, there's a stiffening of things. And yes, it does tend to bring us down and closed in and tight. Can be counteracted through the opening and the practice of opening, instability and awareness and big efforts to stay open. I work with Jackie also muscles that secondary to this to Parkinson's will get stiff and tight. Primary issues for that too, but secondarily, there's regular human muscle issues that come about from this, and that stiffening and tightening can be affected through some of the stuff that I do with her and some of the stuff you do with her.
Just like we have books like the 9 Steps to Radical Remission, which has made for people suffering with, or was written for people suffering with cancer, is there anything to the effect when it comes to neuro illness, steps that we can use to help us look for symptoms or self-diagnose, or that we need to follow to ensure that we're not only going to be looking after ourselves, but that with the illness, we are going to keep ourselves on track?
Is your question saying, how can I self-diagnose Parkinson's?
Well, Jackie went through almost a year before she was referred to you, falling and feeling clumsy and not really being heard and getting a proper diagnosis. So yeah, perhaps that has to do with it as well. But also during the illness itself, what would you say are maybe the 5 or the 6 most important things that we need to harness for ourselves during this healing?
Obviously you saw it was difficult for diagnosis to come along for even a well-trained nurse as Jackie. As this disease appears or shows itself, by the time it shows itself, it is progressed in that there's nothing you can do about it, but there is no pre-cure for it now anyways. Pre-knowledge is very helpful because you can start getting a different mindset and different lifestyle going to help slow the progression of the disease, presentation of the disease anyways. Can you be a little more specific with your now?
Yes, I was coming back to the 9 Steps to Radical Remission, and just to find out if there's any kind of simple summary of what you can do if you're living with a neuro disease that is just going to give you more of a holistic healing application.
I see what you're saying. I've not run into anything like that for these types of neurological diseases of remission. When it comes to like multiple sclerosis, another neurological progressive disease, periods of time where it seems to go away. But as the disease progresses, those periods of time knock you down one more notch and you there. Where early on it may allow you to return to a certain level. When it comes to Parkinson's, we're talking about right down into one little neurotransmitter or receptor of that transmitter that permanently changes.
Okay.
An amazing medical thing happens. We cannot just replace those, and we can't change it by, I don't know if we can change it by hope and thought, but that's the scientist in me. The spiritual guy in me says,
sure, no, I understand. So I'd like to come back to not necessarily statistics, but understanding that you've had a lot of your training in the US, and I was also just reading a little bit about the volunteer and the social work you were doing whilst you were busy doing your education in the US. When it comes to the situation there and how Parkinson's has become so much a part of our lives through whether it's genetics or whether it's to do with pesticides and pollution, where do you think the highest form of where this disease is coming from is having its biggest impact, and why?
Biggest. I'm still very frustrated on how little attention to research and what I came here to the United Kingdom ready to do what I know I can do to help people with this mobility program that I do, and no one here had ever heard of it.
Mm.
neurologists, nurses, doctors, physios, and it just blew my mind. It's more
Osteopaths.
known in the United
You were
States.
referred by an osteopath, I think, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
So I just decided to do it myself. The system does not pay for it here,
Okay.
which was another big challenge.
I was wondering about that.
People in the NHS, if you don't feel right, you go to your GP and then you get sent to see, so you're not paying out of pocket here. But that's when it comes to I'm allowed 3 to 6 1.5-hour sessions to take any complaint that you're coming to me with and see if I can help fix or help you fix yourself as well. So when it comes to this situation, this Parkinson's, it requires it requires a retraining of a full nervous system, not just a release of a muscle that's giving you neck pain or helping you heal in, that's preventing you from put your arm over your head. This is completely different. And the most that I saw, which is why for advice for patients who are now being diagnosed with Parkinson's, they say, here's some pills, because this does help them, abstracts the production and the reception of the dopamine, but go and exercise. And that's usually what they're told. Exercise for you. I don't know if you have any challenges physically. Exercise is good for me. I'm pretty healthy. Exercise is good for the human body, but that's not specific for someone with Parkinson's. You have to make your nervous system work so hard and so different when you started, because of Parkinson's, having a hard time getting to that cup. Now we've retrained that nervous system so good that you mentally work harder and it feels normal again. It's not the easiest thing to explain. Retraining that nervous system gets that body to communicate, that brains to communicate with the muscles so much better that they start putting on again, getting in and out of their car, climbing stairs with no issue. When it comes to Jackie, most people's goals climbing the stairs. Yeah. Hers was climbing a mountain.
There we go. Does this have this?
And so that, I think.
Is this the same effect for us? Would you use the same? Sorry, would you use the same for a stroke patient then, who maybe has had some heart problems? Then I'm wondering about the stress on the body.
Well, yes, you have to take into consideration everybody's comorbidities, any other issues that they have. If they're diabetic, if they have heart issues, it will definitely modify how your program is implemented. Yes. But you take a healthy person who can, the sky's the limit. When it comes to, with someone with stroke or something like that, any neurological issue, taken what I learned from this program and I modified it for many other patients for many other reasons. I had a lady who had nerve damage replacement surgery that I used some of these concepts with, and I got her off of her cane and climbing stairs again where she wasn't doing it.
That's amazing. I wonder if the muscle memory on a cellular level, wait, I mustn't try and sound cleverer than I am. But these are things that I've been, thinking about for such a long time as a massage therapist myself. Can we eliminate the kind of the mental exercise and only work on the habitual movement to change the function of that limb or joint? Does it have to include what's happening in the brain?
Say you can eliminate the mind and work with the biology and the physiology, and this happens. I believe in that.
Okay.
This is the leader.
Yeah. All right. Is there anything you would like to say before we end our discussion today? I must thank you very much for your time. And also, if anyone has questions for you, can they contact you directly?
Absolutely. I'll do my best to get back to everyone in a reasonable amount of time if you have questions. I was very excited for the opportunity spreading the word of the possibilities out there for people with Parkinson's if they've not heard of it yet.
Yes.
I'm changing new country with stuff that Jackie and I are doing.
Are you writing a blog or any articles about your case studies?
I'm just working and moving forward, and I do take advantage of opportunities like this that you wanting to talk about it. You're on a different continent than me right now.
Yes, I know. Look what this lockdown is doing for us.
This is how it happened. I got recognized for what I was doing with Jackie from the United States. They heard waves that I was making, and they put me on their blog. They put me on,
And how has the lockdown affected your daily routine then? Are you able to work with people remotely?
Well, all referrals had taken a giant dip. Even GP necessarily getting patients in to need to send them to physios. I'm doing telehealth right now. I still make every day. When it comes to patients with Parkinson's, I am still working hard to get the word out to those who would refer neurologists and GPs. It's usually word of mouth. Okay. If someone were to be diagnosed and want to talk to me now, I could get them right here in front of this laptop. We could get going.
Sure.
I have exercised a few times with Jackie in format, and it does give her that boost that she doesn't get doing it alone. So I don't know. It's happening, and even though the virus has making us everything slow way down, I'm not stopping.
Sure.
And it.
Okay. Thank you, Doctor.
All right.
Enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll be in touch soon. Thank you so much.
Very good. Take care. I'll let you hang up because I'm not good at that part.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.